Hello everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Dr. Hamid and our today's topic of discussion is myeloproliferative disorders. Again, very high yield topic for your step 1 and step 2 preparation. I'm using First Aid of USMLE Step 1 for your step 1 and 2 preparation. I would recommend using this book side by side with your UWorld and try to do active studying instead of passive reading of this book. So, myeloproliferative. Myelo means the myeloid cell lines like RBCs, WBCs, and platelets. Proliferative means excessive proliferation. So, in myeloproliferative neoplasms, in a simple words, there is going to be increase or excessive production of RBCs, WBCs, and platelets. Myeloproliferative disorders has four categories. The first is chronic myelogenous leukemia. I think I have discussed CML in one of my lectures, but I will try to cover again. The second is essential thrombocytosis. Third is polycythemia vera, and fourth is primary myelofibrosis. We'll start with polycythemia vera. What is polycythemia? In a simple words, just remember with the word polycythemia that there is going to be erythrocytosis, excessive RBC production, okay, or elevated, abnormal elevation of hematocrit. Always remember with polycythemia that there is going to be abnormal elevation of hematocrit, okay. Polycythemia is further divided into two categories. The first is absolute polycythemia or relative polycythemia. Absolute polycythemia means that in reality there is excessive RBC production. Relative polycythemia means that there is not going to be excessive RBC production, but there would be relative elevation of RBCs. There is going to be relative elevation of hematocrit due to decreased plasma volume. Okay, and the relative polycythemia is associated with hypovolemia and dehydration. So, hypovolemia or dehydration leads to decreased plasma volume, which in turn leads to a relative elevation of RBCs. Okay. Now, absolute polycythemia is further divided into two types. The one is primary polycythemia and secondary polycythemia. Example of primary polycythemia is polycythemia rubra vera, or in simple words, polycythemia vera. Okay. So, polycythemia vera, which is a primary polycythemia, is one of the myeloproliferative neoplasm. Okay, so polycythemia vera is a primary polycythemia and is one of the myeloproliferative neoplasms. Secondary polycythemia can happen due to one of the two reasons. One is hypoxia, or second is EPO producing tumor, increase EPO levels. Okay, increase EPO secretion. Okay, so secondary polycythemia is further divided into two categories. One is due to hypoxia, for example, hypoxia due to lung diseases, hypoxia due to obstructive sleep apnea, hypoxia due to high altitude, hypoxia due to heavy smoking. Okay, and the second is excessive EPO secretion. And in excessive EPO secretion, we have EPO producing tumors. For example, renal cell carcinoma or hepatocellular carcinoma. These two are a very good examples of EPO producing tumors, renal cell carcinoma or hepatocellular carcinoma. I know this is a lot of information, but I would recommend to make an image of this concept in your brain. Okay, polycythemia divided into absolute and relative. Absolute is further divided into primary and secondary. Primary example is polycythemia vera, secondary due to hypoxia or due to excessive EPO production. Okay. Now, so our today's topic of discussion is going to be primary polycythemia or polycythemia rubra vera, or in simple words, polycythemia vera. Okay. Polycythemia vera is a myeloproliferative disorder. Okay, is a primary polycythemia. Disorder of increased RBCs, usually due to acquired JAK2 mutation. So, primary polycythemia or polycythemia vera is due to JAK2 mutation. Secondary polycythemia can be due to hypoxia or excessive eposecretion. Okay, so polycythemia vera is a myeloproliferative neoplasm that results from clonal proliferation or excessive proliferation of pluripotent marrow stem cells. Okay, and it is caused by the mutation of JAK2. JAK2 is a gene that regulates marrow production. So, if there is a mutated JAK2, it leads to excessive production of RBCs, WBCs, and platelets. But mostly it affects the excessive production of RBCs. It affects RBCs mostly. Okay. So, excessive proliferation of RBCs, WBCs, and platelet, but mostly RBCs are affected that lead to hyperviscosity and thrombosis. Now, what is going to be patient's presentation or what are the symptoms we see in a patient of polycythemia vera? Because of increased RBC production, because of increased RBCs in the blood, the patient will present with the hyperviscosity syndrome or hypertension or thrombosis. It could be arterial or venous thrombosis. So usually the patient's presentations are like the hyperviscosity syndrome, hypertension, thrombosis. It could be arterial or venous. Hyperviscosity leads to headache, dizziness, sometimes visual disturbances, um, or congestive heart failure, um, and because of excessive RBCs, increased hematocrit lead to facial plethora. And one important finding, uh, two important findings you should remember is what it is aquagenic pruritus. Yeah, aquagenic pruritus means itching while taking a warm bath is the classic finding. And second is erythromelalgia, that is severe burning pain and red blue discoloration due to episodic blood clots in the vessels of extremities. Okay, look at this image A. This is erythromelalgia. This is the normal hand, and look at this hand because of increased hematocrit. Okay, and splenomegaly is also a classic finding of polycythemia vera. So it is associated with hyperviscosity and thrombosis. It can lead to, because of the hyperviscosity and thrombosis, lead to pulmonary embolism. It lead to recurrent DVTs. It lead to Budd-Chiari syndrome. These are the findings we see in patients with polycythemia vera. Now, how do we distinguish the polycythemia vera from secondary polycythemia? How we distinguish that primary polycythemia from secondary polycythemia? One important finding is in polycythemia vera, there is going to be a JAK2 mutation, which we will not see in secondary polycythemia. Second important finding is in polycythemia vera, EPO will be low. Okay, despite of low EPO, there is excessive RBC production because of JAK2 mutation. So in polycythemia vera, JAK2 mutation will be present, EPO will be low, and oxygen saturation is going to be normal. While in secondary polycythemia, there is no JAK2 mutation, high EPO levels, and low oxygen saturation. Okay, this is how you distinguish primary polycythemia from secondary, on the basis of mutation, on the basis of EPO levels, and on the basis of oxygen saturation. Okay, now let's talk about how we diagnose polycythemia vera. The best initial test is complete blood count. Complete blood count is the best initial test to diagnose polycythemia vera. And what we see in complete blood count, we will see increased RBCs first. WBCs can be increased and platelets can also be increased. Then hemoglobin. Hemoglobin will be high. Hematocrit is going to be high. Okay. Usually the key finding is hematocrit of more than 60%. Okay. So first we'll see hemoglobin high, elevated level of hemoglobin, elevated level of hematocrit, more than 60% is a key finding, elevated RBCs, WBCs, and platelets. Packed cell volume will be increased. In polycythemia vera, EPO, decreased level of EPO, and normal oxygen saturation. Okay, now most accurate test. The best initial test is CBC, complete blood count. The most accurate test is JAK2 mutation. So in polycythemia vera, there is positive JAK2 mutation. Now let's move towards the treatment options for polycythemia vera. Usually our target is to control hematocrit below the level of 45%. Okay, so um, the options we have includes phlebotomy and aspirin. Phlebotomy and aspirin provide symptomatic relief. These are not the most accurate treatment, but these are the symptomatic options to um, options to provide the symptomatic relief to the patient. Okay, phlebotomy and aspirin, they provide symptomatic relief and they prevent thrombosis. Okay, most accurate test for polycythemia vera is hydroxyurea. Okay, and if the patient is resistant to hydroxyurea, polycythemia vera, which is resistant to hydroxyurea, we give patient JAK inhibitor, JAK2 inhibitor, JAK1/2 inhibitor. Example is ruxolitinib, yeah, something like that. Ruxolitinib. Okay, so best initial test CBC, most accurate test JAK2 mutation. Treatment options are phlebotomy, aspirin for symptomatic relief, and the most accurate is hydroxyurea. If the patient is resistant to hydroxyurea, we'll give them JAK1 and 2 inhibitor. One important thing I want to highlight here is because of the increased cell turnover, uric acid levels are usually high in patients with polycythemia vera. Because of the increased cell turnover, the uric acid levels are high in patients with polycythemia vera, and that can lead to gout and kidney stones. So this is again one of the important findings in patients with polycythemia vera, other than hyperviscosity and thrombosis. Now quickly, we'll talk about this essential thrombocythemia. It is characterized by massive proliferation of megakaryocytes and platelets. Symptoms include bleeding and thrombosis. The findings related to platelets, blood smear show markedly increased number of platelets, which may be large or otherwise abnormally formed. Erythromelalgia may also occur in essential thrombocythemia. Erythromelalgia occurs in polycythemia vera, can also happen in essential thrombocythemia. So look at this image B. These are abnormally shaped, big abnormally shaped platelets we see in essential thrombocythemia. Now myelofibrosis. Again, from the myelo means myeloid stem cells, fibrosis means there's going to be fibrosis. So bone marrow fibrosis. Always remember from myelofibrosis that bone marrow will be fibrosed, and um, when we do the bone marrow biopsy, when we do the bone marrow aspiration, there is going to be dry tap in myelofibrosis. Okay, atypical megakaryocyte hyperplasia, increased transforming growth factor beta secretion, increased transforming growth factor beta secretion that leads to increased fibroblast activity, and increased fibroblast activity lead to marrow fibrosis. So in myelofibrosis, there is going to be bone marrow fibrosis. Again, when the bone marrow is not functioning, there is going to be extramedullary hematopoiesis. That is why there is massive splenomegaly, because spleen will try to produce RBCs, WBCs, and platelets. And teardrop RBCs, high yield finding. This is teardrop RBCs is one of the high yield finding in patients with myelofibrosis. And always remember two things with myelofibrosis: bone marrow is fibrosed, that leads to extramedullary hematopoiesis. That's why we see splenomegaly, RBCs, teardrop shape RBCs, and dry tap in bone marrow aspiration. Three things, okay? Splenomegaly, teardrop RBCs, and dry tap. Now, this is the differentiating points. Oh, before that, let's discuss quickly about CML. Chronic myeloid leukemia um, is again what is a cancer of blood, usually see in older patients around the age of 64. Philadelphia chromosome, which is BCR-ABL proto-oncogene, translocation 922. These are the important points you should remember for your steps preparation. That Philadelphia chromosome is a classic finding of CML. Okay. And the treatment options are BCR-ABL tyrosine kinase inhibitors, which is imatinib. These are the highlight points for CML. So in polycythemia vera, RBCs increase, WBCs and platelets can also be increased. Philadelphia chromosome is negative, JAK2 mutations are positive. Okay. Essential thrombocythemia, RBCs, no changes in the RBCs, no changes in the WBCs, platelets. From the name, it is very clear that thrombocythemia, something is going on with our platelets. Excessive production of platelets. Philadelphia chromosome negative, JAK2 mutation positive in 30 to 50% of the patients. Myelofibrosis, fibrosed bone marrow, decrease RBCs, platelets, and WBCs variable, something variable. Philadelphia chromosome negative, and the JAK2 mutations are positive in 30 to 50% of the patients. CML, RBCs decreased, WBCs increase, platelets increase. Philadelphia chromosome is positive and JAK2 mutations negative. So, in a simple words, you can remember that um, these three myeloproliferative disorders, polycythemia vera, essential thrombocythemia, and myelofibrosis, these three have positive JAK2 mutations. CML has negative JAK2 mutations. Okay. So yeah, in a simple words, you can remember that these three have positive JAK2 mutation and CML has positive Philadelphia chromosome, which is 922 translocation. This is dry tap. Look, this fibrosed bone marrow fibrosis. This is all fibrosed. Okay, and this is teardrop RBCs. These two findings, always remember findings like splenomegaly, dry tap, and teardrop RBCs in myelofibrosis. Yeah, I think this is all for today's lecture. If you guys have any questions, you can ask me in the comment sections and let me know what you want to study. Thank you. Bye bye.